Hi there, this is Giuseppe Corcella from Virtual Orchestration, and today I'm going to review Omen by Silence and Other Sounds. Omen is a Kontakt library featuring ritual voices and word chants. It doesn't run in the free Kontakt Player, but it requires the full version of Kontakt 5.8 or above. The library comes with 8 NKI instruments and sells for €79. This library features a wide range of traditional singing styles, not only from the Northern Europe but also from other regions like Sardinia, for example, as well as epic war chants and sorcery chants, and also a percussion loops patch. On the website you can find a lot of informations about the library itself, the patches, and also about the singers that contributed creating this library, borrowing their voices. Download size is about 5.89 gigabytes. As I said, the library comes with 8 NKI instruments. The first one is Vocal Layers, and as the name suggests, its engine features 4 different layers you can blend together to create a certain kind of sound. This patch also comes with a bunch of presets, but you can also create your own sound by playing around with this engine. This engine on this patch is quite advanced. I warmly advise you to check out the YouTube channel of Silence and Other Sound, which features a very interesting and informative video in which Giuseppe Cagliazzo showcases a lot of secrets of this library, and it's very interesting to better understand the full functionalities of it. So first of all, this is a 4 layers engine split in 2 parts. You have layer 1A and 1B and layer 2A and 2B. All these are of course independent, and you can go here and select the sound for each layer, and as you may notice, you are told about the kind of sound. This is for example vocal drone, this is sustain, and so on. This folder in the middle is quite interesting. Indeed, you can arrange how the layers behave. As you can see from the keyboard, the layers are indeed divided into 2 parts. This is the one side and this is the side 2. You have basically 3 layers arrangement, and I found particularly interesting the arrangement number 3, which allows you to play all the layers together inside this range. You have then here a legato trigger button for each layer. This shift back is also a useful tool. Indeed, there is quite a lot of space between the range of the 2 layers, and if we consider the 2 layers together, the range is quite extended, so you might find it a bit tedious on some keyboard with a limited key range. So this button shift back indeed the layer, also apparently compressing it in order not to overlap the keys of the 2 layers and keep them separated, so it becomes more playable on almost any type of keyboard. You can make a lot of things in order to experiment with the sound, to find the one that better suits your needs. You have an edit tab here with some filters, and you can also change the attack and release, and this is apparently based on the 2 blocks of layers. Then you have here a mapping window where you can assign different parameters to control changes, and finally you have a FX window with a convolution reverb, and you can select here between a few kind of ambiances to put your instrument into. Okay, now let's try a few presets and see how these sound. I think this is kind of unique library in its genre. As far as I recall, there are not other sample libraries only based on this kind of vocals. Of course, if you know any, just let me know in the comments below. I'm always curious on discovering new sample libraries. So I basically like a lot how this sound. I think this could be very useful and interesting to experiment with to create some textures and sound design and stuff to create other melodies and instrumentations on also the engine, and the number of presets and patches available is very wide, and thanks to the 4 layers engine, indeed you have a very large combination of sounds at your fingertips. Also, you can experiment a lot with the sound. You can mix together the layers and then you can also create a different space using the pen knobs, which are independent for layers. These are for layers A and B of the slot 1, and these two are for the layers A and B for the slot 2. Let's just try to experiment a bit with this envelope shaper. As you can hear, you can create a brand new idea out of this sound. You can turn this into something completely different, and you can control all the layers independently using the bigger or the smaller circles. Let's go now to the second instrument called Rhythmic Chants. First of all, I am definitely in love with these wallpapers. I strongly appreciate libraries with a nice wallpaper on the background, and the ones included in this library are really awesome. With a bit of fantasy, it seems like you are in this place. From my perspective, I feel them very inspiring. Okay, this one it's called Rhythmic Chants. You basically have 3 different kind of pre-recorded rhythms, and you basically have a drone and 2 sets of phrases. All these are independent one from another. You can of course adjust the volume, and you can also modify how they sound thanks to these parameters, which are a drive, resonance, and low frequency filter. They are based on one root key, which is indicated in this box, and if you move this slider you can change the root key. As you can see, you don't have sharps in there, but if you need for example an F sharp, you can just select F and then move the pitch one half tone above. You can move the pitch up to one tone above and one tone below. And finally you have here a reverb. So now let's stop talking and let's hear how this sounds. Okay, the sound is incredible. It's very realistic, very natural, and it doesn't lose quality and consistency when you change the pitch, even on far keys. You can also change the direction of each layer, and let's try how it sounds without the reverb. Okay, it sounds pretty dry without reverb, and this is something I personally love because this gives me the possibility to add a convolution or reverb and not to have any problem with overlapping different kind of ambiances. So I really like when a sample is dry, and I like it more if it sounds good as a dry instrument, and this seems to sound pretty well even with the reverb turned off. Next instrument is the War Phrase Builder, and I found this very interesting and enjoyable to play around. Basically, you have some pre-recorded sentences, but they are very short sentences, sometimes even a word, and you can mix them together. You can choose the order in which this sentence will be spoken, and this is a function I love in all the libraries and that feature this tool, the randomize function. You can basically let the library itself decide randomly the order of the words and sentences, and I really like to use this as a starting point, and then if there is some word I don't like in that place, I just replace it. You have then here a few parameters including pitch and reverb, and you can enable or disable the loop of this cycle, meaning that if this is disabled, it will stop when the cycle will arrive at this point. You can also decide to resize the length of the cycle, so you can decide if you want a short cycle or a longer cycle, and this is actually very useful. You can trigger the triplet kind of playing, and we will see how it sounds in a while. And you can also decide to speed up or lower the tempo, and to let the sentence be spoken by a single person or a group of person. Finally, on the blue key you have the single samples, and if you want to play the loop, you just have to press the green key. So now let's hear how it sounds. And then we have a sorcery, which is similar to this one, only you have a different kind of vocals. Previous one, as name suggested, was meant to be war voices, but these ones are more intimate, more mystical. It's called sorcery indeed. It's a more ritual way of talking, and you have just two voices. You don't have a group of persons have an option like in the previous one, and it makes sense. And here you also have control on the volume of each single word. And as you can see, also you have way more words and sentences than in the war patch. La au tole la ka angure wadunkai ha la engla la au tole la au tole la ka angure wadunkai ha la engla la au tole la ka angure la au tole la ka angure wadunkai ha la engla la au la au la au toldu la ka angure wadungai ha la engla la au. I have to say I use a lot these two patches in my productions. I really like these ones, they sound very natural, also the transitions between one slot and the other one. And you have quite of control on all of these and also on the number of voices, and you can actually hear a difference between when one voice is speaking or two voices are speaking. Let's go ahead. We have here FX Vocal Horns, which are kind of trailerish sound of drums and stuff like that, made from vocal samples, I guess. We have here a lot of presets, and also this is very interesting. You have a global controls, meaning that when you enable one of the parameters from these, when you change the amount of this parameter, it affects any sample inside the patch. You also have here a convolution reverb with a number of ambiances, which seem to be the same of the reverb in the vocal layers patch. You can pitch them from here, but this is a individual pitch for each sample. If you want to make the pitch affect all the samples, you have to enable the global pitch, and then you can change them from here. So now let's hear how this works. And you can also change the starting point of the sample. And of course reverse it. to the instrument number 6, which is Growls and Whispers. As you can see, the philosophy behind all these patches is the same. You have a reverse button. You can change the starting point of the sample, and the reverb is the same, a convolutional reverb. With these presets you can pitch the samples, and you have also here a global pitch, and you can change the volume, but also you can work on the low frequencies and high frequencies, and you have also an oscillator, and all of these allows you to experiment a lot with the sound. I really like how this sound, especially the whispered ones. And then we have here sentences, which are basically spoken sentences. As you can see, the engine hasn't changed. So yeah, the philosophy behind all of this is the same, and I kind of appreciate this because from my perspective, it means that the library has consistency and it moves on the same direction. So let's try to play around with this patch.
Jolis neki ta edeina agash.
Minejolkas sartsoika hetum.
Amen haken heim anek ini anek no niemie. Edeina agash. Ilaurandash. Edeina agash. Ilaurandash. Kedis. Jolis neki ta. Jolis neki ta. Jolis neki ta.
Minejolkas sartsoika hetum.
Ash kinda englau igandanu.
Again, without a reverb, the samples are very dry, which is amazing indeed. With this convolution reverb, they sound even better. I really like this reverb too. The NKI Instrument number 8 is called Bonus Percussions, and this is the only non-vocal patch included in this library, but I think it's very useful to get started with some percussion loops. The engine is very similar to the Rhythmic Chants, and the difference is that here we don't have rhythmic vocals, but we have here rhythmic percussions. We have here a low pass filter and a high pass filter and a resonance knob. You can also, like in the Rhythmic Chants, slow down the tempo, or better half the tempo, and this is independent from one layer to another. We have here low drums, medium drums and high drums. in my opinion they sound really good, and you can blend them together and add reverb, pitch them, and also change a bit how they sound, and mix them together in a different way. So in conclusion, I think this is a top-notch library, starting from the quality of the samples, which is very good, and it doesn't lose consistency when it's stretched, for example changing the tempo or changing the pitch. You have a ton of possibilities here in terms of sound. It's not only a vocal library, but it's also meant for sound design purposes and ambience purposes, thanks to the vocal layers patch, which is very wide, and you have there a lot of samples you can mix together, and you can create your own sound. The engine in this vocal layers patch is very advanced in my opinion. You have a lot of parameters you can use to shape the original sound and create your own sound. I find also the randomize function inside the phrase builder patch is very useful. As I said, another thing I find very useful is to have dry samples. Another tool I particularly liked was also the LFO knob, because it lets you actually create something new, something that it's not pure vocal anymore. So starting from this library you have a lot of possibilities, and also a vocal library like this it's kind of unique inside the sample libraries world. Finally, I believe that the price is quite fair for the amount of samples you have in there and the amount of sounding possibilities this library gives you. It's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you already tried this library and you'd like to share any thought about this, I'd love to hear from you in the comment below. If you want to support virtual orchestration, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. And if you wish to get notified about new videos, new tutorials, new reviews, subscribe to our newsletter as well, and click on the bell icon to enable notification. I wish you a good day and see you on the next review.